Good evening. Welcome to Defacto Review, our weekly in-depth analysis on the current news and affairs with our commentator and economist, Mr. Jargal Defacto.
Good evening.
And I'm Namsar Zind. You can join us on Facebook, MNB World's Facebook page, and on Twitter with hashtag Jargal_Defacto. And for today's program, Democracy Index of Mongolian Political Parties 2019. What was discussed during the BOAO Forum for Asia? Is exporting meat affecting its price? And let's get into our first topic about the Internal Democracy Index of Mongolia Political Parties 2019. Defacto Research Institute have released its second Internal Democracy Index of Political Parties from April to June 2019. The first study was conducted in 2018 by examining the latter four dimensions: the participation, competition, transparency, and financing. Goal of this study is to contribute to the establishment of responsible political parties that solves its issues openly to the public. Now let's get into our questions. Our first question is that what are the outcomes of this year's survey?
Well, first of all, let me show this Mongolian version of the two indexes. This one is for Internal Democracy Index of Mongolian Political Parties 2018 and this 19. And Defacto Institute had been organizing this survey and making this report because this is the issue of Mongolian not only political development and down the road economic development, because from our democracy of the country itself depends on the strength of democracy inside of political parties, as political parties supposed to be a bridge between people, society, and the state power. And unfortunately, that bridge is not working as we do expect. So the Defacto Institute, together with the Israeli Institute of Democracy, using their methodology, have been producing this report. And this time, 8 political parties out of 31 political parties participated. Last year, it was 2 parties less, only 6 political parties. So we could compare 6 of them for 2 years, and 2 new political parties, in this research, came to the study. What we found out, before that, if the political parties gets scores less than 30, and it is non-democratic inside the party, and from 31, 60, semi-democratic, and 61 to 100, Democratic Party. And out of 8 political parties, 4 got this state of democracy. The other 4 is semi-democracy. First, Mongolian Green Party, Mongolian People's Revolutionary Party, Democratic Party, and Labour National Party. Those 4 political parties are democratic. Semi-democratic is Mongolian People's Party, which is ruling party now, Mongolian Patriotic Party, and then Truth and Right Party, and Citizens People's Will Party. Those 4 political parties have semi-democratic status. If you compare 6 of them with the last year, a year before index, then Mongolian People's Revolutionary Party have increased their score. People's Party also for 9, and Labour Party for 12, and People's Party for 7. Patriotic Party have decreased the index, and Civic Will Party also have increased. So basically, there are four measures we have checked, and let me brief you about the main points of this. First, participation. How much the political party members participate in a major decision-making process. The political parties were active in 2019 because there were announcement of the re-election in constituency number 42 in Hinti Aimak due to absence of another parliament member who was left the parliament member due to crimes he made. But that's why the political parties were very active. However, there were substantial lack of debate on major political issues, party policy in Mongolian political parties, and particularly in formulating their strategy, policy. There's very little discussions inside of the political parties in terms of participation. In terms of representation, does a political party represent whole layers of the society, whole segments of the society, in particular in the case of women? Yeah, there are some quotes, but it's very formal, and they don't follow their quotes, submitting the candidacy of female candidates to, say, also a parliament membership, election, etc. In terms of competition inside of the political parties, that's a major issue. Two political parties, ruling two political parties have a problem. In 2019, Democratic Party had spelled out Mr. Batsandang, parliament member, because his different opinion and views. And the same happened with Mr. Munk Chulung, who was a city representative of People's Party. He, against the decision of the ruling body of People's Party, put his candidacy on election of the mayor of the city, who was replacing the mayor, and he was expelled from the political party, not following the instruction of the ruling, the head units of the political party. And this clearly shows that there is a very lack of competition inside of the political party in both ruling parties, Democratic Party and the People's Party.
So there are still lots of small details. And what were the difficulties while conducting this survey from you? Because generally information about the political parties are very secretive and kind of close to the public. Even the party members themselves do not know the full information about it. So how did you manage this?
Indeed, it was very difficult because we have requested all political parties to at least to send their rules, charter, and some reports about their financing, which was impossible. However, we also approached the Supreme Court of the country, which is supposed to run after the political parties, they report their financing, etc., by the law of political parties, which they never do. We have passed 7 elections, but the Mongolian Supreme Court never made sure that political parties made a right report on their financing on time. Within, I think, a month after election, they're supposed to have that report after independent auditing, which this time we have seen independently audited political party financing report in case of a Labour Party and Mongolian Party of Greens. These 2 political parties show an example of reporting their financing, for example. And we requested also, we sent a letter to Supreme Court to inform us, to give us the charter of the political parties, to which within 2 weeks, as law requires, they replied. They said that the legal entities in Mongolia, information about the legal entities of the Mongolia cannot be delivered to the third party without the written permission of those political entities. The Supreme Court clearly forgets that the political parties are not exactly legal entities in the general board system, because this entity is the only institute that has state power after democratic elections. So we were not able to receive. However, out of 8 political parties, 5 of them have on websites where they have put their regulations and charter. 3 of them not. Even the new party, Right and Just Party, they did not even give us the charter because they said that another political parties more with a copy of their rules. So that's very pity, and still the political parties as such institutions are not completely transparent.
So we have to get on with our next topic, but could you answer this last question for this topic very briefly? Like, what kind of changes does the political parties need to make to become that bridge between the people and the government?
Well, that's the whole issue. This is the whole point of this report of the index of internal democracy of the political parties. What do we miss in political parties in Mongolia is because political parties are a bridge between people and state, society and the state. Instead being a bridge here, they become a bridge between state power and the oligarch company who is financing them. So in order to make sure the political parties do their own job, the people, the society from outside, and party members from inside must demand full democracy, full transparency of their financial activity, all activities to the public. Only in this case, we will make sure, as a democratic system, make sure that don't be involved, they are not involved in corruption. As today, Mongolian political parties are corrupt. As we see, we don't see how they are financed. They keep it secret, and they do what those who is financing them. They do laws specially for them. So that's why we must change our attitude to the political parties.
Okay, so on to our next topic. The BOAO Forum for the Asia was organized in Ulaanbaatar. This year marks the 70th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Mongolia. Mongolia is one of the initiators of the BOAO Forum, which is dedicated to promoting Asian countries to achieve common development through further integration of regional economy. And the first event of this forum was the Ulaanbaatar Conference. It was organized on the 20th of August. Over 10 countries, including Mongolia, China, South Korea, and Pakistan, as well as over 300 delegates from the government and private businesses, delegates have participated in this forum. So, which was a really big forum. And our first question about this was that, what is the significance of this forum?
Well, as we know, there is a Davos World Economic Forum. This is the Asian version, started 2001. And now, since that, many countries who were initiating this forum is hosting each annual forum, following each other, and this time in Mongolia. And as you said, some 300 participants. The people discussed many issues, also the issues that Mongolia suggested, which includes, for example, business opportunity in Mongolia, road of development, and the road and belt initiative, etc., etc. Another big dialogue and talk, which we need, of course, not only bilateral dialogues, but multilateral. This kind of dialogue is important for development, for solving many common issues in the region, in the world, actually. And as you see, the former Secretary General of UN, Ban Ki-moon, who is the head of that BOAO Asia Forum, was in Mongolia. He talked about the trade protectionism, trade war that is hindering, that makes many countries go back from globalization, and that the growth of populism and protectionism that is creating another economic issues after 10 years of last financial crisis. And he also told that because of these problems, there are many issues keep remaining unsolved, like nuclear security, geopolitical conflicts, terrorists, actions, and migration. All this the many issues are staying unsolved. He talked about that, also global climate, etc. And they discussed the issues we face as a country, as a region, as a world. It was another good occasion to discuss, but however, to talk. And however, Mongolian, of course, society expects not only talk, but some real deed, in particular when we talk about the Road and Belt Initiative, corridor concept in between China and Russia to have pipelines from Russia of natural gas, oil, electricity, cable, the most importantly, railroad development, which many dialects, now 3 presidents are meeting of 3 countries every year, talk a lot, but nothing is done so far. So the society waits not only talks, but we need some deeds, some work.
How does this event actually affect the effort to strengthen our country's status in the region? So does this really affect for our country?
Strengthening country status. Country status is something that where if your people live in better conditions, then that's what is the status of the country about. And it's first of all economic issue, in particular for Mongolia, which has any border issue with our 2 neighbors. So out of all this dialogue, how much our economic development depends, or how much the economic really grows. So this issue stays unanswered up to now. That's what the general observation will be. But however, of course, we need this kind of multilateral talk about the issues. Otherwise, if we don't talk, there is no understanding, no trust. So we go slowly to that directions.
So as you said, we need deed, not only talk. So what kind of works were implemented as a result of this forum, in Mongolia especially?
Well, you don't expect immediately any result from this kind of forum, but you more clearly understand the positions of each other on particular issues. Issues are changed every year, and the security threat is different, economic conditions is different. In particular, the largest economic trade partner, China, is now in the trade war with the US, which down the road will also be reflected in the Mongolian economy, because depending on the export, what China does, our export of supply of coal and copper also will depend. So let's see what kind of economic consequence will be following after this event.
Okay, so on to our 3rd topic. The Prime Minister noted that Mongolia should not export meat while we haven't fully satisfied the domestic demand. Mongolia has over 66 million livestock, but price for 1 kilogram of meat is around 14 to 16,000 tugruks, and people are very frustrated by this high price. And during the last week's special commission meeting, Prime Minister said to the Minister of Agriculture and Light Industry, Olang, that he will be responsible if the meat prices increase again. So personally responsible for this. And our first question about this is that it is said increase of meat prices are due to the lack of regulations from the government. And can the government really control prices?
No,
it's something very socialist thing.
No, it cannot. It is a hangover of communist centrally planned economy ideas. And still, unfortunately, it keeps staying stronger in Mongolia. And this time again, they want to, the Prime Minister orders the Minister Olang to keep the price. And he said, while the domestic market is not supplied properly, you cannot export the meat, in spite of the request of Mongolian governments of all time from the 2 neighbor countries to buy our meat. And finally, they started to buy our meat, which is shown, for example, we now export, say, 2017, 2018, 600 tons, and then 1,100 tons increase almost twice increase of beef export to export of Mongolia. But our largest pie of export of meat is the horse meat, from 26,000 to 32,000 compared to 17 with the 17. So as you see, 90% of our meat export so far is horse meat. But the concern of the people is the beef price increase. As we speak about now, it is at the level of 15,000 tugrix per kilo of beef, which is around $6, which clearly shows that Mongolia started to be open economy in terms of beef. And no surprise, because now China has 6 companies registered and certified from Chinese government to export meat from Mongolia. All these 6 companies are 2 in Ovsaimag, 1 is Hupsukul Aimag, 3 is in Zafhang Aimag. All these factories, meat plants, processing, slaughtering, and cutting and storing, these companies can export now. It's certified by Chinese authorities. And we have total 29 companies that can export all type of meats to Russia, 27 to China. The 6 is about only beef that we now increase. We talk about the increase of people discontent is coming with the increase of beef price in Mongolia. And now Mr. Prime Minister is saying that we should not export meat while the so expensive domestic beef is becoming, which kind of cannot solve the issue, because this is exactly, since it's becoming the market open, it's a supply and demand issue. Another thing is, because it's a large, huge country, vast territory, nomads live very sparsely, and people before was buying from them, going there, buying from nomads, then they're bringing to Ulaanbaatar, slaughtering, and they were selling to the market. Now what's happening is in the major Western Aimags. By the way, Mongolian Western Aimags are most healthy in terms of health of the animals. A place where our 2 neighbors are buying now meats directly. So that causes supply shortage in Ulaanbaatar, which increases the price, very simple. And looks like nobody can stop it.
So is the increase of meat prices really connected to the export?
Yes, and it will be open. And Mongolia now also, where do we export? According to the customs information for 2017, we have export 560 tons of beef to Russia, but the most, as I said, the most export is of horse meat, which goes to China, Russia, Kazakhstan, Japan, 25,000 tons. Then we also sell lamb to Iran and Qatar. It is in halal way prepared meat, which, by the way, you keep increasing. They are taking it by plane. So total export of Mongolia for 2017 was 28,000 meat, which not that big. However, it is already causing increase of domestic beef price.
But people say that it is the middlemen who control these increase in price. The people who bring that meat to the city.
Yes, they are blaming the brokerage people, who is brokering the meat. But however, thanks to this broker or the middleman, we have a meat on our table. Otherwise, who is going to collect from all these herds? Because we don't have a larger farm. Every household is nomadic family, and they follow better pasture land. As a result, it is 20, 30 kilometers in between 2 herdsmen.
But
somebody needs to go and collect.
They are adding is actually like adequate, because people say that it is really too much.
Actually, the cost of transportation, delivery is very high. And now there are many middle persons. There is own competition. And the result, the last price we buy meat is the result of the competition of the middlemen. So the more we have better logistical infrastructure in Mongolia, which is very expensive, until that we have to rely on those people who are collecting. However, the logistics system is being changed because now in the Western IMAX there are own clusters of meat processing plants that directly export to China or Russia. That is changing the composition of the market in Ulaanbaatar, which is in the middle of the country. And down the road, the more that we have healthy herds, veterinary conditions are better, I think the same will be in the eastern part of Mongolia. So on two sides of Mongolia, we have a large markets. And from those areas, those markets are, from those western and eastern zones, the export is cheaper because the price is, the transportation cost is cheaper. So down the road, we have to agree with the price, what's going on. And now if certain people cannot afford the meat, then it is a different issue. That's the supplying with the meat, those who cannot afford the current price. That's a separate program. But overall, the price today is market price. I mean, nobody can, for long run, to change it. Other than market.
The livestock count says that it is increasing every year, but the price is, also increasing with it. And
yeah, I do agree. 66 million we have herds. Out of it, we have 27 million goats and 25 million sheep. So the cows and horses, camels are relatively smaller part, and 10% of this whole herds, 10 to 15%, are used or consumed domestically. But the more now we have export of meat, the price will go higher. The only issue if the herdsmen get this benefit from that or not. Unfortunately, today this is not the case. But the more we have the infrastructure developed, the value chain distribution of value will be more equal. Which means at the beginning on the upstream, the herdsmen will receive relatively higher price. Down the road, the more we have competition, then it will be faster.
I see. So that is all the time we had for today. Thank you for watching Defacto Review. We will see you next week with more topics.
See you later. Thank you. One is